Please join me in thanking Nancy and Reverend Dr. Theo Harris for that excellent discussion on human security and getting our Civil Rights Week off to a great start. I now have the pleasure and honor of introducing our next guest and fellow Will member, Georgia Representative Park Cannon. Representative Cannon represents Georgia's House District 58, a seat she was encouraged to seek by her predecessor, Representative Simone Bell. Realizing that holding office would give her the opportunity to help people through policymaking, Representative Cannon threw her hat in the ring. A queer African-American woman raised by a single parent, Representative Cannon personifies that which lacks at the Capitol. She not only proudly represents her district, she was awarded as one of Will's 2021 Pacesetters for her groundbreaking leadership. As some may remember, she was unlawfully arrested earlier this year just for standing up for her principles. It is because of her staunch support for free and fair elections that we've asked her to come give a few minutes of remarks, because she knows all too well how important having a voice in government means to one's security and its connection to civil rights. So without further ado, I give you Representative of Georgia's House District 58 and Will member, Representative Park Cannon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Park Cannon. I am one of your colleagues, a state representative in Georgia. I'm here to commend you for attending this pivotal organization's event and to share a few tales from my journey to justice. Here in Georgia, we understand the importance of fireside chats and talking about Civil Rights Week. I know that it's important that we think about what happens when people are left behind because of broken systems of surveillance and security, when we don't have an intersectional lens on how we actually keep our communities safe. I, just like many of you, took the survey earlier this year, and I too agreed that civil rights is the #1 issue on my mind in these trying times. I am a proud member of Will Wand and would love to thank all of my Georgia legislators, specifically my confidant, Senator Nan Orrock, for always bringing me to the table. Now let's get into it. This idea of human security. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes. When was the last time that you felt safe? Maybe you felt held or you felt protected. Stay with me for a moment and take a deep breath in and out. I hope that you are realizing that maybe your blood pressure will start going down. Perhaps your shoulders have dropped. Maybe your toes have uncrunched. Maybe your back is a little bit more straight. Take another deep breath in and out. Now I want you to ball your hands up into a fist, either one over the other or two of them side by side. I want you to press those two hands together and feel there should be some heat being created, whether your hands are clasped over each other or they're to the sides of each other. I want you to let out a quick, it can be audible, and it's okay if the person next to you chuckles. I want you to do that again and make a little bit more sound. You might have noticed in that moment that your hands started to feel clammy. Perhaps you're sweating a little bit. Maybe your shoulders have tensed back up. Maybe you're squinting with your eyes. Maybe making that sound reminded you of a time that you were frustrated or felt very intense emotions. You can open your eyes. And I want to thank you for participating in that psychosomatic experience with me and your fellow colleagues. Take a moment to look around and see how people are doing. If there's someone who is experiencing a very intense emotion right now, I want you to take a sip of water, or maybe just to excuse yourself like we do sometimes in a Southern church. You just stick your finger up and you slowly exit out. Take a moment to yourself if you need, and find something that brings you joy again. The reason that I'm taking you through this exercise is because on the daily, this is what our constituents are experiencing. They might wake up in the morning and feel so comfortable, nestled in their bed, in their community, in place. But then the moment they step out into the world, they start to think of all of the things that they have to do that day. As they're driving, biking, or walking to where they are headed, their eyes might start to scrunch up. They might start sweating as they arrive at a place where they are headed to. And there might be triggers that are associated with that change. We might know some of these triggers to be things like security cameras at our train stops or on our side streets. Or they might be the force of a person in a uniform that they might not know personally, but have seen people like them before continue to bring the same type of energy, one that is dominant, one that tells you what to do, and one that does not believe what you really say, instead challenges you at every instance. Domestically, this is something that the United States of America must address in my lifetime. I, as a 30-year-old young woman from the South, am tired of waking up in the morning, feeling relaxed, and going out into the world and somehow tensing up as if I am bracing for something terrible to happen to me. What we know is that domestically, there are so many opportunities for elected officials like us to be a little bit more on the front lines on this conversation about surveillance and security and what safety really means. But maybe we too are too tense, or maybe we are concerned that standing up will make it as if we don't believe in a system that provides some semblance of safety. What I challenge you to think about today is, what are the smaller ways that you might be a part of a change in my lifetime and in the lifetimes of your constituents by standing up for change? Now, I want to give you an example of what's happening here in Atlanta, Georgia. There is an opportunity for us to do two things at once. We can either protect our forests and our greenlands, or we can build a new police training center. Many activists and community members are calling this Cop City and protecting the forest, #ForestATL. When you see these two separate instances of what might bring someone's safety or security together, you realize that they probably could coexist. How different would it be if, before police officers started their day at work, when they arrived at the precinct, perhaps they took a nature walk. Maybe they grabbed some dirt and felt the ground. Maybe they took their boots off and literally put their feet on the ground. Maybe if they heard some trickling water from a nice nature preserve. How different would it be when they clocked in and started their job? Maybe some of those tensions that they were feeling as they drove to work, those self-doubts, yet needing to seem all put together, maybe those would soften, and maybe they would have a softer approach to the constituents that they serve. But if we just have another steel building with lots of weapons, surveillance, and systems for surveillance, how can they start their day in a way that has human rights at the center, in a way that respects our natural world, and certainly in a way that changes the narrative on safety in my lifetime? I've been pondering this for months as our local city council has been debating this back and forth. At some point, finally, they tabled the measure. And as you know, tabling a parliamentary opportunity to slow down on an issue or to gather more public input or research, maybe funding or opportunity, it can be something that provides a moment of that same sigh and relief. It can allow for people to step back from their perspectives and hear what others are saying. They can actually listen more deeper, and perhaps they can actually make a change. Well, I am devastated to report that shortly after tabling this very important measure, without any public input, the city council came back and voted the measure up. Now, it wouldn't be me if I didn't talk about elections a little bit, but all elections matter. Every time you vote, it is local, because all of the council members who are no longer returning to the city council voted no. But all of the members who have opposition or who are running for re-election either abstained or voted yes, making it so that the measure passed. I need to take a moment of sighing because of that. I remember hearing constituents call my phone and say, "Representative Cannon, you're at the state level. Can't you preempt something like this? Representative Cannon, I know that you are so well connected. Can you call one of these council members and ask them, why did they vote that way? Representative Cannon, I am terrified that this is coming to my community. I know that that means that there will be more weapons in my neighborhood, where there is a possibility for those weapons to be used on my neighbors. What can you do?" And I truly had to ponder, because I'm not a city council member. I don't have jurisdiction over that land. And I certainly am not one that is in support of many weapons. And I had to realize, as a state legislator, the most important thing that I could do in that moment was provide them with one of these psychosomatic exercises. And sometimes it takes us as leaders reminding people that the triggers that they experience, we are experiencing too, but we are there to provide them a resource on how to cope and how to deal with it. Now, I am not saying that I am still not doing some of the more internal and intergovernmental conversations that need to happen in this moment to try to limit the types of weaponry that will be coming to this police training center, to address the community concerns that this training center will not provide security and safety, but only will provide surveillance. And of course, to address the issue at hand, which is that this center is scheduled to be larger than that of NYPD's and LAPD's, being the largest in the country, meaning that there will be officers from all over the country who will be coming here to learn tactics of manipulation and harm, possibly tactics of takedown. I have to sigh, because I know that Atlanta, as much as we are an international city that says we are too busy to hate, I know that this location will be just a stone's throw from the place where Rayshard Brooks was killed. Now, we know the nation erupted this past summer when there were murders all across America that reminded us of how fragile our systems of policing truly are, how many of them are unable to grapple with the harm reduction tactics that communities are asking for, and to impart strategies that increase confidence and trust in their expertise. We know that as we move forward in our lives, we want peace and that we can win without war. But there are so many crisscross lines that lead a false narrative that perhaps we have to have these same types of systems. And I want to bring to you another example in my journey for justice where I see the trickle down of this idea of increased weaponry trickling down to the local level. It's in our elections. So this past year, in March, I was at the state capitol. It was another day, just like any day for me, that started early. I woke up early and took my Yorkshire Terrier outside, fed him food, and told him, his name is Congress, told Congress I'll be home soon. Just gotta go to the Capitol. All parts of me intended to come back home that day, the same person that I was. But on March 25th, I have to say, I did not come home that same person. In fact, I didn't come home to the next day. I spent the night in jail over a bill, Senate Bill 202, which is called the Elections Integrity Act, which turned from a 2-page bill to a 98-page bill overnight, passed through its subject committee, went to the Rules Committee, passed out of the Rules Committee with very narrow rules, came to the House floor, had a very short debate, passed on the House floor, immediate transmittal to the Senate, passed through the Senate, and as it was passed in the Senate around 6:17 p.m., we found out at 6:30 p.m. it was going to be signed by the governor. The speaker gavelled us out of the House, and we went along our way. We're on the 3rd floor, so I took the steps down to the 2nd floor where the governor's signing office is. And I knocked on the door, just like this, a few more times, just like this. And I was unlawfully arrested. Luckily, we live in a world where people were videoing. And so the district attorney found it that she did not need to prosecute these 2 felonies that would serve me 8 years in prison and take away my right to vote, as well as my right to represent constituents at the state capitol. I'm so proud to say that as much as I am relieved that my charges have been dropped, I know I am not the last person who's going to be unlawfully arrested for standing up for the right to vote. We have seen now United States Representative Nikema Williams also be arrested and dragged out of the state capitol and taken to the Fulton County Jail back in 2018, talking about the importance of counting every vote during Stacey Abrams' gubernatorial election. We have seen this time and time again, that as Black people, as people with a voice, and as people whose eyes are stayed on justice, we are impacted negatively by systems of surveillance and security. That day at the state capitol, I had my name tag on. I too should have been protected, just like the male legislators who were posed under a Southern plantation photograph, who were signing away the rights of millions of Georgians to vote. 7.2 million Georgians registered to vote, to be exact. I should have been able to be a witness in that room, as the caucus secretary, as a legislator, as a person who believes that voting rights and security and safety should be talking to each other so that we are preserving people's ability to feel that sigh of relief as they go and they place their ballot, as they go and they put their trust in someone or something, as they go and stand up for their communities or their children to be able to parent in safe communities where they can thrive. But instead, we continue to see arrests and violence and bills be passed that provide more felonies and more misdemeanors for people who are simply requesting their right to vote be expedient and without interference. Now, I do want to say I have experienced a time where I did wonder, I'm at this polling place. It's about 6 a.m. and I see a group of individuals in unmarked vehicles, about 12 of them, drive up, hop out, make a circle, and they all have long guns. And they're all standing with armor on. And they're just in the parking lot. I did wonder then, who can I call? What can we do? How can this situation be de-escalated? And so I did want to engage with those who were subject matter experts on surveillance and security at this library. And I did want for the people who were already standing in line to vote to feel as though they were not about to witness something terrible happen. But I have to be as honest as possible. I didn't have the trust in the local security professionals or the policing agencies that they would be able to de-escalate that either. So it left me wondering, as a state representative, what can I do in these moments? And I want to tell you about what I think that we truly can do in moments like these. I truly believe that our path to de-escalation at the national level starts at the local level. It starts by attending the public safety and homeland security meetings that happen in your state capital. Listening out for code words, things like human tracking systems for helicopters, thinking about allocations that allow for individuals who have been on a policing force to get their weapons again and to serve even though they have already retired and not have to go through new age training, crisis intervention training, mental health preparedness, all of these things that allow for de-escalation to happen. How will it happen at the national level if we don't start at the local level? With our mayors, who many of them oversee our police, and have them talk about how do we engage with community members who have faced issues of violence with weaponry? How do we help them feel safe again? How do we help them understand that every time that you see someone with a gun on their hip or a mace or pepper spray or a taser, that there is not going to be an issue of casualty? I believe that truly it will take groups of us coming together and rallying around the importance of harm reduction and de-escalation. Now, you already know how to de-escalate, even if you have not been through a formal training, which can be provided by mediation services. I know that some of the federal agencies also will provide them to us at no cost, and sometimes local agencies do too. But I know that you know how to de-escalate, because I know in this room, there are mothers, parents, aunties, grandparents, school teachers, crossing guards, judges, state elected officials, and the list goes on and on. From the first conversation on being a parent or someone who caretakes, you have figured out how to help little ones learn how to share. And sometimes that takes de-escalation. I argue that these are the same types of skills, soft skills, that women and people like us bring to the lawmaking table that are invaluable. that are able to stand peacefully, de-escalate, and provide remedy. Now, the remedies will have to depend on your budgeting and your different localities and the political climate that you might be dealing with, maybe the elections that are coming up, or maybe a bill that has recently been passed. And I know that you are able to figure out what is necessary on that. But what I want to provide to you is how we truly engage with these ideas of security and safety by making people feel that from us when they are with us. Sometimes it takes planting your feet on the ground, closing your eyes, and taking a few deep breaths, thinking about the things that keep you whole, make you feel comfortable, and then sharing those out. Now, there are opportunities for us to work together. I am sure that this organization will bring forth for us. I love going ahead and advocating at Capitol Hill with some of you every year when we come up to the nation's capital. But until those opportunities happen again, I would like to offer to you, go ahead and plan a peaceful demonstration where you lead others through these types of experiences, where you help people think through how they can respond in moments of crisis, because that is what ladders up to the national level. We need to continue to equip our national elected officials and policymakers, staffers, and community members with the information that they need to say, these communities don't actually want the Pentagon to have these billions and millions of dollars in their budget added every year for more tanks and more weaponry. And to double down and say, because I spoke with a Georgia legislator, the #1 state of military families, who represents Georgia State University, where they have the highest number of military students in the United States. And they said to me that as much as they grew up in the military, in a family of Marines, they have learned the power of de-escalation. And they want some policies that codify de-escalation. I do truly believe that as we continue to go through Civil Rights Week, there will be moments that will flash in your mind. Maybe they flash in your mind in black and white because of the way that the media has shared them out over the years. Maybe it is the photo of the late Congressman John Lewis, God rest his peaceful and powerful soul, of him being dragged and beaten at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Or maybe it is a photo of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and some of his female comrades starting the Poor People's Campaign here in Georgia. But I want to challenge you to dream in color, because nowadays the photos of my unlawful arrest, the unlawful arrests of those who are elected at the national level and who faced those penalties just a few months ago, thankful, so thankful for our congressional representatives for standing up for that. But this is all happening in color. This is all happening in real time. These are the images that we must share out in order to make a change in my lifetime. We no longer can continue to rest on our laurels that just because this is the way that safety and security has been done in the past, that this is how it has to be done in the future. I beg of you to remember that every day that we wake up and every day that we serve our constituents is a blessing. We are able to make a difference by simply being who we are and standing in our peaceful power. Know that if you are somewhere and you are feeling tense and you do this exercise, that I am there with you. Know that if you are knocking on a door of injustice and it does not open, there are eyes that open to that issue. And know that as we go forward, we will win without war. I thank you so very much for having me today. I am so honored to continue to stand up for the progress that we want to see. It makes me so delighted to see that so many of you have logged on today and are going to take this information forward. So until I see you next, I pray that you are well. I hope that your communities are able to live in safe and secure communities without violence. And more than just that, I hope that you will come back for more.